Okay, let's get to really serious business. Gary, keeping aviation safe is a constant proposition. It's the job of dedicated flight instructors, educators from throughout the industry. You're certainly one of those. Let's talk about some of your latest efforts.
That'd be great. And thanks again for having me. You know, you all do so much for GA safety by spreading the word. It's really an honor to be here again.
Well, it was either that or get a real job, and that's not going to happen, so we're happy to be here.
That's what I say.
There you go. Talk to me first about, you're involved in a really intriguing training program involving a helicopter operator. Tell me what happened there. That's kind of intriguing to say the least.
Yeah, so for the people that may not know me, supposedly I'm the top expert in the world at teaching really good pilots to be great at new GPS, autopilots, and glass panels. In fact, my nickname is GPS. I'm the guy in the pink shirt, like the pink line on GPS. But one of the things that has always concerned me is large commercial operations and jet jobs and fleets require all new pilots to take type training. They have to learn how to fly the new helicopter. They have to learn to fly the new jets. But there's never been any FAA or formal requirement for avionics training. And that, it wasn't necessary 20 years ago because an ILS was an ILS. But now, the Avidyne IFDs are so far advanced. Garmin GTNs, they're so far advanced that really good pilots don't ever take formal training and they don't know how to work it quickly in emergencies. So the leader in helicopter sightseeing, the best company in the world, Temsco Helicopters out of Alaska, is one of the largest helicopter sightseeing flights, and they do fire support and mining and search and rescue. They had a really interesting problem. They get 50 new pilots every spring and who have never flown turbine helicopters. So they're doing, long in-dock flight training on how to work the helicopters, but they didn't want to use up flight instructor time and burn in 60 gallons an hour of Jet A to learn how to work the buttonology on the new Avidyne IFD 550s, which are so far advanced. So we've partnered up with Temsco Helicopters, me, the guy in the pink shirt from pilotsafety.org, and we have done the first program designed for Part 135 operators in the world that is avionics training. I've spent a couple hundred hours developing a custom design program just for what they need with their specialized mission. We spent 2 days in Ketchikan, Alaska, training the instructors as a trainer program. But what's so exciting, Jim, is Eric Eichner, the chief pilot and the grandson of the founder for Temsco Helicopters, has always led the sightseeing industry in safety. And he said, we're going to be the first, and this is a no-brainer. All new hire pilots must go through my 4-hour online program that is approved and meets all the requirements for Part 135 training before they come to day one.
Okay.
And it's saving Temsco Helicopters thousands of dollars per client. And they know their pilots are going to be much, much safer. And that's what Temsco Helicopters is all about. How do we make the whole sightseeing industry safer and better? And we just think it's kind of revolutionary.
Well, sounds like. So what was the main approach? What was it that you thought was necessary to start with? How did you proceed with an instructional program that could be utilized in this way?
Well, it was such a fun challenge because my expertise is teaching people how to be great at single pilot IFR. Well, sightseeing helicopter pilots don't go IFR. They don't use 90% of what I teach, but they have this really challenging, unique environment with custom waypoints. So I had to spend weeks really creating something brand new that was specialized just for them. But that was the challenge, is taking a really great safety-based company and providing something that's never been done before. And we're now talking to several large fleets about doing the same thing. I think it's going to save a lot of lives. I think it's going to save large fleet operators huge amounts of money. I just think it's kind of a new idea, but so far people are loving it.
Well, helicopter operations, especially this is not so much on demand, but a situation where you're keeping it as something similar to a schedule, and you've got people who are trying to take tours and so forth on some set schedule is a tremendous and demanding thing to do. You're dealing with environments that at times aren't necessarily really kind to helicopters, so having all the necessary information and knowing how to utilize it is a criticality one issue.
Yeah.
To me, the fact that you're doing this, to me, is not a surprise. It's just, the surprise is what it takes so long.
Yeah. You know, their biggest concern from day one was, we don't do any IFR procedures, but we need to develop escape from accidental IMC and a sudden whiteout, because they're in the mountains of Alaska.
Yeah.
And that's what was so cool about developing this program.
Not exactly a kind and forgiving environment.
It's really not, and these pilots are brand new. They're very good, and the training they get from Temsco is amazing, but now we can use the technology better to help. So,
well, more power to you.
I'm proud to do it.
I'm very curious to see, once there's some time and grade, just what kind of results you get from all that, and more important, what you learn from the process to modify and upgrade the programs in the future.
You know, I got to tell you, I want to take this nationwide to every fleet, whether you've got an advanced Avidyne FMS program, or you have a really good Garmin GPS equipment, or, you know, I've done some really cool things, but I want to take avionics training to the fleets. I just want to change the world. I think it'll make a big deal.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch. You're certainly going to have to keep us up to date on what's happening and so forth, and I'm dying to see what happens once you get some time and grade. That's going to be a really educational process, to say the least.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, well, indeed. You showed me a project you were working on as well, CFI Pro Tips. Tell me what you're doing with this, and more important, just where is this targeted?
Okay, so my single pilot IFR Pro Tips book, which you got one of the first copies, huge bestseller. We sold 5,000 copies the first year. Thank you so much. And people said,
That's a good run.
Yeah, and we're still selling, several thousand a year. And people said, well, what's your next book? And I go, well, I really want to do a CFI Pro Tips video course. The average flight instructor today now teaches for less than 1 year before they move on to a career goal. So
what you call a license to kill.
Right, so the time building CFIs absolutely care about safety. The myth that they don't care is not true, but they haven't had time to pick up the experience. So Avemco Insurance is so involved in safety, actually donated $6,000 to me to pay for me to develop the first 2 video courses, which are free to any flight instructor or instructor trainee. And I want it bigger. So we're going to add 4 more videos and this. And this is a very early rough draft. It's a CFI Pro Tips book that is going to be several hundred pages that I'm proud to say that I am investing $50,000 of my own money to pay for the production, printing, and shipping. And I'm going to take that $6,000 starter from Avemco and I'm going to put $50,000 in. And we're going to give this book away for free forever to every flight, ground instructor, or instructor candidate that will simply take one. And we're going to give them away for free, but I have a caveat. I'm willing to spend a little bit of money, and I'm willing to invest a couple hundred hours of my time, Jim, if you promise me one thing.
What's that?
I don't have to write the whole thing. Because I've got 2 decades of teaching, but CFI Pro Tips from one person wouldn't be a good book. It's only my point of view. So
there are a lot of people out there with a lot to offer under the circumstances, and reaching out to that community could be really instructive, so to speak.
Right. So I'll print it and I'll edit it, but it's not written by me. It's written by flight instructors, ground instructors, and some of the best tips and stories we've got out of here came from low-time private pilots. Hey, my flight instructor did something really cool that most people don't ever get to see. or my flight instructor didn't teach me this and I wish they had.
There you
so
go.
I need your help, and I need help from all your viewers. If you want the free videos in the book, I'd love to send you one, absolutely. They're going to be delivered at Oshkosh and will be given out for free for the first time in the Avemco booth, which is so fitting, because they're such big sponsors of safety. But if everybody will simply go to pilotsafety.org, whether you're an instructor or not, or you want to be an instructor, and click on CFI Pro Tips, there's a form where they can submit their tip or their story. They'll be listed as a published co-author, which is big credibility, and I will link to their personal website and promote whatever product or service they want to sell if they'd like, and we can change the world.
Well, as you and I discussed, there's a lot of problems with initial CFIs coming into the industry because they're taught to be good pilots with basic skills and no real world experience outside of what they get in that first couple hundred hours. And yet they're thrust into the flight instruction environment where they are not only expected to teach what they know, but to teach. And so little time is being given to that topic. And then there's the other issue. We're having an inordinate amount of accidents with new CFIs because they are unprepared for all the ways that students are going to screw up and potentially try to kill them, for lack of a better way to put it. We've had some horrible accidents the last couple of years to very good novice CFIs that were simply unprepared for the environment they were in. And I'm working on a program with SAFE, with the Hoover Foundation. We're certainly happy to help you with this, but more important to get the word out to people that there are pieces of information out there that can be shared among the flight instructor cadre to help them be more effective, to build better students, to survive the process. And not the least little thing of all of this, enjoy the process a great deal more.
You know, the thing that bothers me so much about new CFIs, everyone says, oh, time builders don't care, and that's totally wrong. I've never met a young CFI who was doing it to build hours to get to an airline job that didn't actually care if his people were safe. He didn't care if they passed their check right. I've never met that person. But they just don't, the CFI training is not about how to teach.
No.
It's memorizing regulations and learning the rules. So, what
and unfortunately, fundamentals of instruction and test is the biggest joke in the world. That's awful.
You know what I know about RUAC, Rote Understanding Application Correlation, is that I memorized it, I learned it by rote, right? So the thing that bothers me most about young flight instructors, or flight instructors I've met that have been teaching for 10 or 15 years, they've never heard of SAFE, the Society of Aviation Flight Educators, which does, like you guys have your own CFI program. Yep. They've never heard of NAFI, the National Association of Flight Instructors, which has all these CFI Pro things. They've never heard of the FAA Wings program. So that's what this Pro Tips book is.
They're just cramming in everything they can under the circumstances, and because of the fact that we've short-circuited the process from CFI to airline job, they're not being out there running checks at 2 in the morning in the beach. They're not teaching the Okefenokee Flight School and learning how to fly the Aztec that they've been lusting after, and all the other things that go with working their way up the progression the way we used to. And now it's just wham, bam, let's get into that right seat. And it's not a good process.
No, and there's no way for them to get the experience to be a good instructor unless we give it to them.
Bingo.
And a big part of this book is that people need to join SAFE. And they need to join NAFI, and they need to be active in the FAA Wings program, and they need to take advantage of AOPA's safety stuff that if they knew about, they would.
The Pilot Proficiency Center at Oshkosh has some great programs that are available at CFIs, or for that matter, just cruising around and looking at what people are asking for or trying to learn or trying to see or sharpening your skills, sitting in a sim, whatever it is. It's the cheapest education you're ever going to find in aviation.
If they knew they could watch this TV series or read your magazines, they would.
Yeah.
If they knew the Bonanza Society had these great programs. Tom Turner.
Tom, brilliant.
The guru of safety.
Bit of a character, but brilliant.
Oh, he's so good. if they knew about stuff that Rod Machado and the Kings and Gold Seal and all these cool providers had, they would. And that's what I want the book to be. I just want them to go, I can read through the book in 2 hours and read just a short little tip. I'm going to share one with you.
Okay.
One of the best tips I've gotten so far is from a new CFI named Edgar Vasquez Hinojos. Hi, Edgar from Arizona. He's been teaching 2 years. This topic is about teaching aeronautical decision making. And this is one of the best tips I've gotten. He says, avoid making the no-go decision for the students. Let them get there on their own, but guide them. And I asked, well, what would you do differently if you were a brand new instructor today? And he'd say, I would slow down, take my time, and enjoy the flights more.
There you go.
But what a great tip.
And yet, it's really basic. It's really basic. And it's funny, the stuff you learn along the lines. I was telling somebody a story the other day. When I was working, I was teaching aerobatics out in Southern California many years ago. I literally had my bacon saved by a conversation I'd had with a glider instructor a number of years before. Because tandem environments and the fact that your student's in front of you and not necessarily as accessible and so forth and so on. And I'm literally teaching a spin series to somebody employed by a federal agency who's supposed to be working flight testing.
Sure.
First initial F, last initial A, and an A in the middle. And they'd never done serious six-turn spins before, even in a decathlon. Decathlon, after about 3 turns or so, gets into a nice stable state auto rotation. He froze. Okay, wrap the stick, can't get it. And I'm told the smartest thing to do, if he's got a headset on or not headset, push it off, clap him on the ears, they will let go of the stick.
Yeah.
And there I am recovering at 1,700 instead of 4,000, and just kind of looking around going, okay, that could have been fun. But it was just a conversation I'd had years before, and it just came right to mind because this guy is not letting go. He's not listening. He doesn't know what's going on. He's confused, whatever. And whammo, off we go.
Would you send that to me and let me put that
Absolutely.
That's the whole
There's
point.
a bunch. What'd be fun too is
That's the whole point of that.
We've got a bunch of video with Bob Hoover talking about teaching, and he has some funny stories about teaching kids coming over for World War II and getting their first fighter slots and everything else. And some of them are funny, and some of them can't be repeated. Still dealing with 20-year-olds, you know how that goes. But we should find some of that stuff, dig it up for you.
See,
because Bob loved talking about instruction.
That's the kind of stuff that I need your help. I need these tips from the viewers. If you have something so cool like that, that could actually save the life of a brand new instructor. And if we give this to ATP and Embry-Riddle for free, they'll absolutely give it out to their students. And knowing that clap the ear thing could save a life.
Yeah, it was just
that's what we want to do.
It was a unique flight instruction environment. You weren't sitting side by side, no elbow in the ribs, no this or that, or hey, you hearing me or anything like that. And you can't even see the expression on the face. You don't really know what's happening to the student unless they're communicating with you. And this is the thing you learned from gliders right from the beginning, was that you had to have a sixth sense about what your student was doing, because you're on short final in a glider and decide that the student's too wrapped up in something or scared or whatever the case may be, you've got a good chance of hurting a glider or yourself.
Yeah, nobody tells the new CFIs
No.
that a lot of primary students will pull the mixture instead of the throttle when they're landing, and you say powered idle, and they just grab the wrong knob.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the first time it happened to me, I was a little bit startled. After 2 decades of teaching, well, I don't teach primary anymore, but after 6 years of teaching private pilot students, I would not even be looking down. I'd just be looking for traffic, and I would just hear the change, and one finger would just push that mixture back in because I knew it was going to happen. But the first time it happened was a little
I love it.
You've had people do that to you, I
Oh, dear
guarantee
God,
it.
yes.
Right.
Well, back when I was flying skydivers, they did it on purpose just to bust my chops. But
Right.
we learned how to keep them from doing that anymore.
Right.
'Cause they not only do that, but they grab the mag keys, pop them in their mouth, and jump. So I got really good at dead sticking the 206, but we taught them how to fix that the best way possible, because one day they decided they were going to go through all this, and I could hear them conspiring, oh, we're going to get them today, blah, blah, blah. And it was fun, and big runway, so nobody really cared. But sure enough, I knew it was coming, but at the last jump on the end of the day was, this is a drop zone in Talco, Oklahoma, near the Talco County seat, and they had the Talco County Fair going on at the same time.
Okay.
But they decided the last jump of the day was, well, skydivers are free spirits. So the last jump of the day was basically a parachute and a pair of boots, and that was it. So we get to about 2,000, 2,500 feet or so, at which point I start messing with the mixture, and so it was, hey, we got a problem, get out, get out. Left them out right over the county fair, and they never pulled that on me again, because they're all wrapping parachutes around them and trying to explain to the cops why they're wearing nothing but a pair of boots. And
well, it fell off in the wind.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it's called getting even. Those were the days. Young and stupid and full of this and that. Tell you what, Gary, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege.
Jim,
you do God's work, and I appreciate that.
Thank
one of the
you
reasons why you're always welcome anywhere we go. Spend some airtime with us, and we'll definitely be talking more and more in the days to come.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 66th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors: